The Secretary of Defense has a Jerusalem cross tattooed on his chest and Deus Vult on his bicep. That's Latin for God wills it. It was the rallying cry of the First Crusade in 1095. It was displayed on flags at Charlottesville and again on January 6th at the Capitol. He wrote a book in 2020 called American Crusade. In it, he wrote, "Our American crusade is not about literal swords, and our fight is not with guns, yet." The last word of the book is Deus Vult. That man now runs the United States military during an active war in Iran. Since May 2025, Hegseth has been holding Christian worship services inside the Pentagon. On March 26th, the first one since the war began, he led a prayer asking God for overwhelming violence of action against those who deserve no mercy. 5 days later, on Easter Sunday, a pilot who'd been shot down over Iran was rescued. At the Pentagon press briefing, Hegseth said, "Shot down on a Friday, Good Friday, hidden in a cave, rescued on Sunday, flown out of Iran as the sun was rising on Easter Sunday, a pilot reborn." He drew an explicit parallel between a combat rescue and the resurrection of Jesus Christ at an official Department of Defense press conference. There's a strain of Christian theology called end times theology. Tens of millions of American evangelicals believe a version of it. The short version, for your reference, for Jesus to return, a specific sequence of events must happen in the Middle East. A Jewish state must exist. A third temple must be built on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Then a final conflict begins. In 2018, Pete Hegseth said at a conference in Jerusalem, "There's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible." He was describing his theology. He now has a defense budget. Christians United for Israel, founded by Pastor John Hagee, has more than 10 million members. By membership, it is the largest pro-Israel organization in the United States, larger than AIPAC. On March 1st, the day after strikes on Iran began, Hagee told his congregation, prophetically, we're right on cue. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation reported more than 200 complaints from service members after the war began. Troops said their commanding officers were telling them the war is part of God's divine plan to bring about Armageddon. 30 members of Congress signed a letter requesting a Pentagon investigation. Look, this video is not about Christianity. Believe what you believe. Pray how you pray. That is your right. I believe that fully with my entire being. Dog tags have a line for religion: Christian, Jewish, Muslim, atheist, agnostic. It's there because faith is personal. The military has always protected that. What it is not supposed to do is let one person's theology shape the chain of command. And it's not just me saying this. Pope Leo XIV stood in St. Peter's Square on Palm Sunday and said that Jesus rejects war and that God refuses the prayers of those who wage it. On Good Friday, the Pentagon Chapel held a Protestant-only service. No Catholic Mass was offered. Archbishop Timothy Broglio, head of the military's Catholic services, went on CBS and was asked whether the war meets just war criteria. His answer, under the just war theory, it is not. After Pope Leo called Trump's threat to destroy an entire Iranian civilization truly unacceptable, reports say the Pentagon summoned the Vatican's ambassador to a closed-door meeting where a U.S. official invoked the Avignon Papacy. That's a reference to the 14th century, when the French crown used military force to control the Pope. The Pentagon disputes this. The Vatican reportedly shelved plans for the Pope to visit the United States. And as of filming, this is a developing story. The problem is not Christianity. The problem is a political theology shaping military leadership and justifying a war. That is policy, and it should be questioned like any other policy. If you want to understand this war, you have to understand who believes they were chosen to fight it. The tattoos are on his body. The prayer is on video. The theology has a specific ending in mind, and my sources are linked. I planned a video on Israel's reason for the war, but because of issues here on TikTok that are well documented, I will save it and post it to YouTube only tomorrow. Please share this with someone who needs to see it. Use critical thinking skills, be curious, and remember, democracy is a verb. Act accordingly. Thank you for watching.